So hello and thanks for joining the webinar, and yeah, let's just wait a minute for everyone to join. And while we are waiting, it would be great if you can let me know where are you joining from. So I'm joining in from Zagreb, from Croatia. So just let me know the city and the country where you're joining from. And if you joined the webinar through Zoom, you can actually send it here through this Q&A panel. If you joined through LinkedIn or through YouTube, then you can simply send it through chat message. Okay, great. While I'm waiting for your feedback, just a couple of notes. So first of all, we are recording the webinar, and basically you will be able to see the recording of this webinar on the same page where you registered for the webinar. So if you registered on Advisera page, you will see on the same page the recording, and if you are watching this on YouTube or on LinkedIn, then you will see the recording on the same page where you're watching the live streaming now. And second thing, you'll be able to download this presentation deck, and at the end of the webinar I'll tell you actually where to find this link to download the presentation deck. Okay, I see some people letting me know where they're from. So Montreal, Canada. Okay, great. Netherlands, great. Okay, thanks for letting me know. Good. So I think we can start with the webinar now. So welcome to this webinar, how to perform consulting work remotely. My name is Dejan Kosutic. I'm the main expert at Advisera for cybersecurity standards, but I'm also I was also a consultant in my previous life, and I also deal with and I help lots of consultants do their job. So I will say I'm pretty well, let's say, informed about what consultants actually are doing and what kind of needs do they have. In any case, today's webinar will last, let's say, approximately 40 to 50 minutes, depending on the number of questions you will have. And by all means, please do send me as many questions as you want, and you can actually send them as I go through my presentation, and I'll try to answer your questions as I go through the slides. And yeah, there will also be a Q&A session at the end, so you can also send questions then. Okay, great. So let's move on to some let's say introductory topics. So why is this remote consulting important? Well, it's important because it's becoming mainstream, and you know, when some consultants are actually now working more than 80 or 90% actually remotely. I'm not saying that all consultants are already working that much remotely, no, but again, more and more consultants are spending a large proportion of their time remotely. So this webinar today is really about how to perform this work remotely, how to overcome challenges, you know, and what you can and what you cannot do really remotely. And yeah, this webinar is intended for both new consultants, but also for experienced consultants. So basically I'll try to kind of explain from both of these perspectives on how to work remotely as a consultant. Okay, so actually one of my main points today is that if you do not know how to work remotely as a consultant, then you will probably fall behind, because it's not only that it is, I would say, this consulting work, it's not only that it's actually becoming more and more convenient for consultants, it is actually becoming more and more required by companies themselves, because companies, I mean clients, are also seeing that that they can actually work more easily with the consultants if this is remotely, if this consultant is not on site. I'm not saying that this is in 100% of cases, but again, the trend is actually that clients also themselves are preferring these remote consultants, and therefore, if you want to stay competitive, I mean, this is something that you simply have to learn how to do. And of course, this is what this whole webinar is about. Okay, good. Now let's see now the agenda. And by the way, you can actually let me know through a message if you want me to focus on a particular topic. So if you like some of these topics, simply send me a message so that I know where to spend most of the time today. Okay, so first of all, very short slide about how the market is changing, and then I'll show you a couple of examples of what I think that can be delivered online, what kind of services you can deliver online, and probably what kind of services are still not, you can't still actually perform online. So I'll just show you these two types. Then I'll show you 4 types of tools to use for collaboration. When I say tools, I mean internet services, I mean internet software or software as a service that you can use for collaboration as a consultant. Then I'll show you which online tools to use for compliance. So basically what kind of compliance tools you can use. I'll also speak about this online marketing. And finally, what are the main concerns and how to overcome them. Okay, good. Yeah, let me then go to the next slide, just briefly about this, how the market is changing and how this remote work is changing. So, you know, most people think that, you know, COVID actually was the trigger actually to start working remotely, but actually this is not true. Remote work really started at least a decade before the COVID actually broke out, and COVID actually only accelerated this trend of remote work. For example, Advisera as a company, we exist from 2009. So what is now? It's already what, 17 years old almost. And from the day one, we actually worked completely remote. So we never had an office. We were all from the beginning. Everyone is in Advisera is working remotely. So, I mean, obviously there were companies that were also operating long before COVID on a remote basis, but again, everything has accelerated since then. Most clients, as I mentioned, expect at least part of the work to be performed remotely. And for example, already certification audits, at least for some standards and for some types of companies are done remotely. For example, for 27001, if you are a smaller SaaS company, most likely you will never see auditor in person. The audit will be, I mean, certification audit will be done completely remotely. This is now becoming, I would say, a mainstream. Again, if you are certifying against 27001, if you are a high-tech or a SaaS company. Okay, so these are basically the trends. Now, let's see what I think. So this is my opinion, but you can let me know if you agree or not with me. But this is what I think can be delivered online and what cannot be. So, for example, you can deliver interviews, right? So, I mean, any consultant that is doing his or her work is interviewing employees of the company, you know, basically finding out how the company is doing particular things. All of these things you can do very, very easily through, I mean, Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever this online meeting tool you're using. You can also do training. I mean, this webinar today is a kind of a short training, but you can also use and deliver longer trainings. For example, Advisera has these lead auditor, lead implementer courses, and as part of them we have pre-recorded training videos which last approximately, I think, 20 hours. But we also have live training, basically, and this is a full day, 1-day workshop where actually our trainer works with the students for a full 8 hours. And this is also doable. It works very nice, and we are doing this for already, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. So it's working very, very nicely. Of course, you can do any kind of analysis. So if you are a cybersecurity consultant, you're doing risk analysis or risk assessment. And again, this is something that can be done remotely. You're simply, you know, getting the data from clients. I mean, you can get it in terms of some kind of files, access to their databases. You can do interviews. But once you have all the data, you can then do the analysis remotely. You do not have to be on site to do any kind of, let's say, complex analysis. Of course, you can write documents. You don't need to be on site to write documents. Again, you will have interviews with employees to find out what are their existing technologies and processes and you know, roles and responsibilities. And based on this, you will write documents, again, remotely. You will send these documents for them to review. but you don't have to be on site that you actually do this kind of documentation. You can do coaching, which you could consider as a kind of training, but still, you know, coaching is, I would say, much deeper and much more personalized training, and it can be done remotely very nicely. I mean, you can set up, I don't know, coaching calls, I don't know, once a week or I don't know, twice a week, always at the same time and with a certain person, and you simply coach him or her on you know, what to do. So all of these things and many more you can actually do remotely without any bigger problems. Now, what I see a problem with when it comes to online is this developing this personal relationship during the sales process, right? So until someone has not become a client of yours, you know, you have to basically convert them. So you basically have to convince them to buy your services, to sign the contract. And this is, you know, harder to do online. It's very different if you have to convince someone through a Zoom call or if you are actually in person. There are some ways actually to overcome this problem. I'll actually show you this later in the slides. But if I mean, if you are using only this kind of sales call and nothing else, again, there's a couple of things that you have to do besides this. But if you're doing only the sales calls, this is something where you'll probably have problems. Also, if you have to manage some kind of larger scale exercises. So for example, if you're doing business continuity, for example, ISO 22301 standard, then you will have to do this exercising and testing. And this typically involves a larger number of people. This also usually involves some kind of physical things that need to be done. And then this is hard to do completely online. So something complex as this is still probably being done if you're physically present at the premises. So again, lots of things you can do online. Some things are probably still hard to do. Okay, now let's see what kind of tools do you normally use for collaboration. I typically, you know, like to kind of categorize them in 4 categories. As you will see later on in the slides, this is files, messaging, tasks, and meetings. But let's first of all, I mean, before you start using any of these tools, first you have to agree with the client if they actually if they agree really these tools to be used. For example, you can't start using Zoom for online meetings with the client if they're not using Zoom, if they're used to use Microsoft Teams, right? So you basically have to ask them what tools do they agree with, and then you can actually start using these tools. Of course, you have to adapt to what your client prefers. And yeah, you should focus on the tools that are, if you can choose the tools, you should always focus on using the tools that are easy to use. So this is by far the most important criteria. Okay, there are also criteria like, you know, privacy, security, these kind of things. But, you know, if privacy or security are basically the same amongst, let's say, a couple of tools, then you're going for the one that is the most easy to use. For example, we are using Zoom. Because anyway, use it for one-on-one meetings, for group meetings, for these group trainings, for webinars, for everything. We find it by far the most easy to use. Okay, now let's see what are these 4 types of tools that you will typically use for collaboration. When I say collaboration, I don't mean the specific tools for compliance. This is what I'll show you in the next slide or next 2 slides. But I'm speaking now only about collaboration. So first of all, files. You'll have to define, you know, basically which kind of folders to use. And by the way, you can use, you know, Microsoft SharePoint or Box or Dropbox or anything like this. But basically the idea here is that that you define exactly what kind of folder structure to use for a project, how to name the files, and so on. So this is something that is I would say important to agree with the client. When speaking about messaging, you need to define which channels to use. So for example, are you going to use email for messaging, or are you going to use, for example, Slack, and then create a separate channel in Slack actually for communicating with the client? Again, this is something that you have to agree with the client. Then you'll have to define how are you going to track all the tasks. Okay, so basically it's something that are you going to use, I don't know, simple, a Word file for that, or are you going to use some kind of a task management software for it? So again, it's something that you have to decide. And regarding meetings, I think the most important thing is actually to agree on a regular schedule. Because as you probably realize, it's very hard to actually organize a meeting. It takes lots of emails going back and forward before you actually agree on the timing. And then, if you have to do it each time you need to organize a meeting, this is really losing too much time. So what is much better is that you actually organize regular meetings with the client. So for example, you say, okay, we'll meet twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, let's say 2 p.m. Okay. And then everyone knows that, this is a scheduled call for a consultant, and then they will show up, and it's much easier actually to start communicating like this, and you will know that you can actually get all these people on the call, and so you can prepare and so on. So I think these 4 types of tools are the most important. Now let me show you a couple of examples from Advisera how we use these tools. So for example, we use this Notion. By the way, I'm not promoting Notion. I don't care about if you use Notion or not. I'm just showing you this kind of a tool because I find it very useful, for example, when organizing internal rules or internal documents. So if you're writing some kind of documentation, you can of course use Microsoft Word and then upload it to, let's say, SharePoint, or you can use an alternative tool like this. So basically you see here a folder where we keep all the internal rules for Advisera courses. So as I mentioned, we offer all kinds of courses, and we of course have to control very tightly, what is happening with these courses. And then we have an internal rule. This is basically a manual, names and roles for Advisera courses, the process for course development, a procedure for conducting training, examination, and issuing certificates. So if you went through any of these exams, then basically you are actually passing the exam exactly according to this rule number 4 and so on. What also you see is the latest version of the particular document, what is its status, when it was approved, and so on. So basically this is how we organize things. So for example, I'll just show you very briefly the process of course development, purpose and users, the process, and so on. So basically this is roughly how it looks like. Okay, another thing that I wanted to show you is basically this Slack. We are using this for internal messaging. We have a huge number of these internal channels where we discuss internally anything that we need to. For example, for, I don't know, marketing, social media, YouTube, advertising, I don't know, financial things, training academy, this is the training platform, and so on. So I'm showing you now this channel announcements, and this is basically where all the employees in Advisera actually have the access. And here we announce anything that we published lately. So for example, on Monday we have published this updated this article. I actually published this podcast yesterday, so I published this here. So basically any kind of announcements we're pushing here, so that everyone in Advisera is basically informed of what is happening. We also use Notion again for keeping all the tasks, right? So for example, I'm showing you here what we call register of videos on YouTube and other platforms. So basically here we actually keep track of all the videos that are already published or that we are planning to publish. As you can see here, we are listing only 42,001 videos, and you can see, these videos are already published. These are the ones that I'm planning to publish. This one is also published recently. These here are only planned ones. This one is already published, and so on. So basically it's very easy. By the way, this one here is under editing, and this will be published later this week, as you can see. So it's very easy actually when you use this kind of tool, I mean, to organize any tasks that you are doing, whether internally in your company or if you're acting as a consultant. Okay, now going back to the presentation, here are potential tools that you can use. Again, we are not selling any of these tools. We don't have anything. If you're using these tools, these are, let's say, I try to list here the most common tools that you could use. So for files, typically you would use Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, Microsoft SharePoint. For messaging, Slack or Microsoft Teams. For tasks, Asana, Monday, Trello, Notion. For meetings, Microsoft Teams, Zoom or GoToMeeting. Again, it's up to you to see what suits you the best. Okay, now other than these collaboration tools, there are also compliance tools or tools that are specific for a particular ISO standard or for a particular cybersecurity framework or whatever you are working with. So first of all, there are these compliance implementation and maintenance tools. So basically these are tools that help you implement, I don't know, ISO 9001 or ISO 27001 or ISO 42001. So basically this is one type of a tool. Another type of a tool are these compliance training tools. So basically tools that are helping you implement a kind of a training program. And of course, all of these tools are online. I mean, available on the internet as a software as a service. So basically it's very easy for any client to access them. Okay. And then there is also this directory of consultants, so basically where you can actually look for new clients. So these are also, all of these tools are online, obviously. Now, let me actually switch the screen and I'll show you where you can find all of these tools. Because obviously Advisera is also providing these tools. So first of all, there is this page, consultants, where to start, and we've sent you actually the link to this page now in the chat window. So if you open the chat window, you will see the link here. If you click it, it will open to you, and you will see everything that is there. So here are a couple of articles. Here are a couple of tools where you can actually, for example, this 𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀, I will show you actually this documentation toolkits with all the documents, document templates. Company Training Academy, this is a training platform. And then you can also see here basically a couple of articles. Sorry, this is the webinar, actually this webinar today, but couple of courses specifically made for consultants, and yeah, also Lead Auditor, Lead Implementer courses, and again more and more articles. So basically this is probably a good page for you to start actually exploring. But what I wanted to show you is this 𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗶 software. So basically it's an implementation software, and it actually helps consultants work with their clients. So basically, if you have this consultant account at 𝗂𝗂𝗴𝗶, then you first see this screen where you actually choose which client you want to work with. Okay, because you can use one login to work actually with several clients. And then once you actually once you actually move to a particular client, then you actually have this implementation steps, which actually take you through all the steps that you have to go with the consultant. For each of these steps, then you get documentation templates. You have these registers like risk register, statement of applicability, and so on. And you can also see what kind of status do you have with regards to each document and each clause. For example, you can see all the statuses of the documents. You can also see what is the status for each control. So let me see here, I don't know, leadership. As you can see, everything is ready for an audit. However, here for controls, not everything is ready for an audit because a couple of controls are not completed. Anyway, if you're a consultant, you can use this actually to speed up the work with your client. So this was regarding implementation. Regarding training, we have this product called Company Training Academy. It's a training platform. Again, if you are a consultant, you have this dashboard where you see all of your clients. If you open a particular client, then you will see something like this where you can actually organize trainings. And if I go for this lessons library, you will see that there are a big number of video lessons, so almost 300 here. And here you can see what kind of topics we are covering. So for example, all of these topics are covered: NIS2, 42001, 27001, general cybersecurity. This is basically cybersecurity awareness, GDPR, 𝗲𝗏. So if I pick only 27001, apply filter, then you will see that there are almost 50 lessons here, and basically these video lessons then you can actually distribute to the employees of a particular client. And I'll show you very briefly how this is done. You go for a set up new training, you select a framework, for example 27001, and then basically the system automatically suggests you training program, meaning a series of videos that a particular target audience should see. So for example, let's say that they want to go for the senior management. And then of course the videos for senior management are not the same as videos for, I don't know, some other client, let's say target groups. And then the system actually, you have to select the country and then basically continue. And then it suggests you what kind of videos you should send to these people, and then you define later on the frequency, how often you want these videos to be sent, and then once you actually start the program, it tracks who has seen it and so on. So it's a very easy way to actually organize online training for your clients. And what I mentioned also, this directory, so there is this consultant directory. You can actually get listed here as a consultant, and then you can actually get potential clients if this is something that you want to do. Okay, so these were all the examples of online compliance tools, specific tools for compliance. Of course, Advisera is not the only provider of these kind of tools. There are many others. Of course, I'm not going to show you what the competitors are doing. This is something that you can investigate on your own. Okay, we've sent you the links to all of these resources through the chat window, so you can take a look. I actually got a question from Sam. The question is, do you follow a template or structured approach, or do you follow ISO clauses in order? I assume that you're asking this question when it comes with regards to the implementation of a standard. And basically, my preference when it comes to the implementation of the standards is really that you follow this plan, do, check, and act cycle, right? So basically, this is the PDCA cycle, is I would say, one of the main ideas on how these standards are organized. So basically, first you're pre-planning what you have to do, then you're implementing, then you're checking if the implementation was done correctly, if the system is doing properly, and then act. You actually start improving the things that you need to do, that you need to improve. And basically, this is let's say, typically the steps are following this kind of a logic of from the PDCA cycle. So and for example, Conformio that I was showing you, this list of steps also follows this logic. What we will do now, we'll share a link with you for an article called ISO 27000 Implementation Guide. And there it's a longer article, but you can also see a checklist of implementation steps in that article. So basically, there you will see what are the, let's say, recommended steps for ISO 27001. Okay, so my colleague will send you this link in a minute through this chat window. Good. So let me move forward with the presentation. Okay, so the next slide is really how do you actually do this online marketing? So what you actually, how do you actually promote if you are working remotely and you want to actually find new customers also remotely? So basically there are a couple of ways to do it. And the one way is really to publish a blog, right? Publish online articles, rather shorter articles, where you actually explain how the things are done, and basically this is something that you can actually use for for actually promoting your knowledge. And so, for example, what is a very useful thing to do is that when you actually work with a client or with many clients, if they have, let's say, if most of them have similar questions, then actually what you can do is publish a blog which actually explains, which provides the answers to these most common questions. And then basically, whenever they start asking you questions in these meetings, then you simply say, look, here's a link where you can, read answers, in your free time, I mean, at your convenience, so that you're actually not kind of spending too much time on meetings explaining these kind of common questions. And basically, then you start building your library of articles. And then not only are you making your implementation easier, you're also building your reputation by actually showing all of these things that are important. Let me just help my colleague find this article about the implementation steps. So just give me a second. Yeah, okay, I can't find it either, but anyway, if we don't find this article now, then we will send you this article later on. Okay, I found it. Okay, good. Now, let's say, another way to basically promote yourself and potentially find clients is by actually delivering webinars. So as you can see, we have this webinar like today, and of course, this webinar here is free, but still, it attracts certain attention. There are lots of attendees on this webinar today, and some of you might actually become our clients in the future, or maybe already are clients. So basically, with each every webinar, you can actually engage with lots of prospects and potentially find clients. Of course, what is important is that you actually provide value in these webinars. So these webinars should never be only promotional. You should always provide some insight that was not simply available before. You can also write a book. What you have to keep in mind is that there is no money in books. I mean, basically, it's if you want to make money, then it's not going to be on books, but books can actually be a very good promotion for you as a consultant, because whenever a potential client starts searching for, starts asking about you and starts searching for you on the internet, if they see that you published a book or a couple of books, then this will be let's say, a signal to them that you really know what you're doing. Of course, you can also use social media, primarily LinkedIn and YouTube, to find new clients. And I particularly like LinkedIn because you can actually use these direct messages, and especially if you're using this with Sales Navigator. This is, by the way, a paid tool by LinkedIn, where you can actually find and contact directly potential clients. You can participate in discussion groups like Reddit or Quora, and also find new clients there. Of course, if you have an email list, then you can send email campaigns. For example, if you subscribe to Advisera, then you know that you're probably every week receiving an email from us. You can also use paid ads like on Google or LinkedIn, even though I'm not very sure if this is going to work for you. If you are, let's say, beginning to work as a consultant, I'm not really sure if this is something that would be really if this is going to work for you, because there are many consultants out there offering more or less similar things. So paid ads could work if you have a very, very specific niche where you don't have competition. Then paid ads could work. Okay, a couple of questions coming in. Kuram is asking, is it necessary to be a certified implementer or auditor to be a consultant? The answer is no. I mean, technically no. So there is no requirement that you actually have lead auditor or lead implementer to start a consultancy. However, if you do not have these certifications, then it's a big question if you would ever find clients, because most of the clients are actually expecting you to have this kind of certificates. So technically you can start without them, but question is if you would ever actually be able to find a client without them. Eric is asking, do we have a prime version of Conformio? I'm not sure what exactly the question is, but you can actually test out Conformio for free. So there is a free trial of it. And if you want to get this consultant version of Conformio, then you will have to sign up, you will have to actually get in touch with our partner manager, and he will explain you how you can get to this license for consultants. And I'll actually give you the link on how to schedule the call a little bit later in the call. Okay, what I also wanted to show you is how to learn as a consultant online. So let me switch the screen. We have launched this 2 courses actually for consultants. The first one is the beginner's course. So basically this one is intended for consultants that do not have any experience, or maybe if they are in the very beginning of their consulting career. And basically this is a free course, and I'll show you the curriculum here. So basically preparation for launching a consultancy. So steps to start, defining your niche. By the way, this is probably the most important thing that you have to do. Certifications and training for consultants, exactly, you know, what kind of courses you would need, what kind of tools, how to package services, how to set the price. And then finding clients. This is usually often the most important question, you know, how to find first clients, how to build your personal brand, presenting services and converting clients, and what to include in the consulting agreement. And then a third module is about delivering consulting jobs. So basically how to run implementation projects, training projects, audit projects, how to prepare clients for certification audits, and then finally how you deal with security, privacy, intellectual property. You have the link now in the chat window to sign up for this course. So if you're a beginner, then this is recommended. If you already have a couple of years of experience, then it's better to go for this advanced course. It's also free, and here's the curriculum. So basically how to build your strategy and growth, how to scale your consultancy, how to create consulting services with ongoing revenue, how you compete with the big firms, what is the future because of AI, work-life balance, marketing and sales. You will see some advanced techniques there. So building a marketing and sales pipeline that generates leads, using leads, a LinkedIn to get leads. Actually there I show how to use this sales navigator, using YouTube. So I show actually what kind of, how to actually build these videos and publish them on YouTube. Advanced techniques for converting leads and demonstrating ROI. And then delivering consulting jobs, again, a little bit more advanced techniques here. And yeah, this is about business transformation, managing culture and change, because as you probably know, one thing is, what you actually suggest as a consultant, and another thing is really what happens in a company. So managing this change is very often a big problem, and this is these are lessons that can help you. So you'll find also these links in the chat window. Okay, moving forward. Yeah, let's see what are the, okay, I think the timing is good. So let's see what are the main concerns and how to overcome these concerns. So what are the best, basically I received these concerns from consultants, from many people via email, and I'm showing you these, let's say, most common ones. And one of the question was, what was the best platform to advertise my services? So again, I'm not sure if you can directly advertise your services, but you can actually use all of these other promotional techniques like blogs, webinars, writing a book, all of these things. Because when you actually have all of these things together, let's say if you develop a good LinkedIn profile, if you're targeting your customers through LinkedIn, if you have all of these things together, then you can actually overcome the problem of actually not being able to sell in person. Okay, so I'm not saying that using advertising like Google ads or LinkedIn ads is going to work for you, but these other things I think are very important actually to basically prepare the grounds for you actually being able to sell, to find new clients. Okay, another concern was knowing who to reach out to. So I'm not sure what this concern was directly related to, but if this is related to, for example, finding potential new clients, then actually LinkedIn is a very good platform for doing this, because if you use this LinkedIn Navigator, you can actually pinpoint directly, let's say, a certain size of the company, certain industry, a certain person that is positioned in this company, and then you can actually send a direct message, basically your pitch through this LinkedIn platform. So it's a very actually good tool to narrow very closely, you know, the target group that you're interested in, and not only the company, but actually the person within the company who would be the most appropriate for targeting. So actually I explained this in the advanced course, so there is one lesson that explains this. Okay, conveying your credibility in a remote setting. So yes, credibility is something that you can't build directly if you are not present there. Because if you are present physically in a meeting, then you can actually build your credibility because you're present physically there. If you're not, then you actually have to use some other methods to build your credibility. And again, then you're coming back to these online promotional methods. You know, blog posts, books, webinars, whatever. And basically this is a way for you to actually build your credibility, build your brand, so that a potential customer actually starts trusting you even before you started a sales meeting with them. Okay, another concern is missing out on conversations or decisions that might be occurring informally on site. Yes, so this is something that you can't really catch, I would say, if you're not present there physically. But I would say that at least partially you can resolve this by having these regular recurring meetings. So for example, if you're having these meetings, I don't know, twice or maybe 3 times a week, then you will start actually picking up lots of details that you wouldn't really get to if you had only, let's say, 1 meeting every 2 weeks. Okay. But if you actually start meeting these people more regularly, then you will start finding out more information that you wouldn't really hear if they really didn't start kind of trusting you because they're seeing you more often. So these regular meetings overcome at least part of this problem. Ensuring everyone stays aligned on standards can be more challenging without face-to-face interaction. You're right. I think besides these meetings, you also need to have really good training program, because if you don't have a training program, then it's going to be extremely hard to change how people behave. Of course, you need to get the commitment from the senior management, from the mid-level management, all of these things that you typically need to have. But I would say training and awareness is usually the most important part there. So you have to figure out what kind of training program to offer them, so that I mean this management system or whatever governance that you're implementing can actually start working. Okay, good. So basically these were the main concerns. So let me make a short conclusion, and then I'll go to these other questions that are coming through. So, you know, just to conclude, I mean, you know, telephones, it's already a very old technology. You know, it came back, what, in the 19th century, and people back then were very much afraid, you know, on how this would change the communication, because it was very impersonal. But I mean, it's obviously not an issue anymore. So I think, you know, the same thing will happen with this internet communication. Already many people are, especially younger generation, don't have any problems with using these things. So I mean, it's going to become simply a mainstream. So of course this means that you know, you as a consultant have to adapt simply to catch up. It's inevitable. So it's something that is coming. And again, for that purpose, to start working fully remotely, you can use Advisera's products like, you know, 𝗿𝗏𝗿𝗶𝘀 training platform, all of these things. Okay, we'll also share now with you a link to schedule this call with our partner manager, and he can actually show you how all of these tools work, and he can also give you this access for this consultant version of all of these tools. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. Okay, of course you can send me any of your remaining questions through chat. And while you're sending this, I'll just go through a couple of notes. So first of all, you can reach out to me directly through and ask me a question via email, and you can see my email on the screen now. And second, you can actually follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube. So on LinkedIn, you will see that I regularly post news about cybersecurity, about compliance, about AI governance, so all of these things. So if you want to keep up to date, you can follow me on LinkedIn. And on YouTube, I publish lots of videos on cybersecurity, AI governance, about all of these standards. So if you want to learn in video format, then you can also follow me on YouTube. I also have on YouTube this Secure and Simple podcast. And it's a podcast actually that is intended for consultants. And this is where I explain and where I interview very successful consultants, and they basically explained what methods they actually use to become successful consultants. So it's also very useful for consultants. Okay, and third thing I wanted to let you know is that my next webinar will be about the basics of ISO 27001 risk assessment and treatment. So the webinar will take place next Wednesday, the same time as today. And we'll also send you now a link where you can sign up for and see basically all the upcoming webinars. Okay, good. So let me now go through questions that came in. Okay, so let me read first a couple of questions that came in before the webinar. So Paolo was asking what platforms are best for low connectivity locations. Now, if you have a bad connectivity, bad internet connectivity, then I'm not really recommending that you do consulting remotely, because that's going to create problems. If you're having this kind of an online meeting and your video keeps coming on and off, or audio, it's not going to work. So I would then suggest that you actually invest in a better internet connection. If nothing else, you can use satellite internet. It's now very easily, you can obtain it very easily. It's not too costly anymore. I think this is I think it's not really about platforms that use low connectivity. It's more about having a very good internet connection and actually then working normally with your clients. Okay. Let me see some other questions. So Flux was asking, how can AI assist to perform consulting work remotely? Obviously ChatGPT and Gemini, all of these other chatbots are going to not only help consultants, or they're going to change this consulting world a lot. And actually I'm planning to do a separate webinar on this topic. And also Advisera is planning to launch its own AI application, which will basically which will be targeted specifically for consultants and professionals to actually help them with their work. So this is something that we will launch, I hope, in the next month or so. And we will also have a webinar where we will show what kind of tools you can use as a consultant. Richard was asking verification of data presented during a remote audit. Well, basically you would have to verify the data in the same way as you would if you were on site. So for example, if I don't know, if in the remote audit, if the auditor actually got some information through an interview, then basically you would also, as auditor, would have to speak to other people in the same process or in the same department and basically verify if this was true. If he or she was presented with some kind of written evidence, again, you would have to check out if this was valid evidence in the same way as you would if you were on site. So basically the process there is very similar. Okay, there was a question from Smith. If clients prefer you use your business computer versus their organizations, in addition to separate files in separate file folders, do you have any recommendations for best methods to ensure separation of their information from your business and other clients in case I am requested to retain information per a legal hold? First of all, I'm not recommending that you keep files on your computer. I'm recommending that you're using cloud tools, cloud services like, I don't know, Box or SharePoint, because then everything is in the cloud. And especially, and if a client already has this kind of a service, then they can basically provide you access with a certain folder, and then you can actually upload all the files in that folder. So then basically they are in the control of all the files that you create for them. If they do not use any kind of a service like that, then you can actually open up an account with any of these services that I mentioned, and then you can actually open a separate folder for them, so that the files that you're using for that client are not mixing with files from other clients. Okay, a couple of questions I received during this webinar. Eric is asking, on-premises software compared to cloud. I mean, if you're working with smaller clients, then they will not use any on-premise software. Typically, all of them are already using cloud software. If you're working with the larger clients, then yes, they might have some kind of an on-premise software, and in that case, you actually have to figure out what is basically the best way for you to access this kind of software. Okay, Sharona is asking, you mentioned PDCA is an approach in consultancy for a check part. What is the better way to collect feedback? Well, ISO standards actually specify three main methods to collect to be a part of this check phase. So these are internal audits. This is measurement and monitoring, internal audits, and management review. So these are the three most important actually channels through which you will receive information on how your management system is doing. Now, I'm not going to go into details of this, I'm already over time, but basically there are many materials on our website to check this out. By the way, you can actually sign up for these courses on our website. For example, if you're working with ISO 27001, there are ISO 27001 courses on our website, and there you will see separate lessons on how to do monitoring and measurement, internal audit, and management review. Okay, Sam is asking, for sales and marketing, would you target the CISO, compliance director, the owner, or the president? Yeah, so it depends on what you're selling. So if you are, let's say, targeting small software as a service companies, let's say 10, maybe 20 employees, and that you want to sell them ISO 27001. In these cases, they're not going to have a security officer, right? So in that case, you are targeting either chief technology officer or chief executive officer, because sometimes you will have the owner of the company who is doing both the CTO job and the CEO job. So again, this really depends. If you're targeting companies of, let's say, 200, 300 employees, then they probably will have a chief security officer or CISO, and then you can actually go towards this person for let's say ISO 27001. So again, you also have to think through how to target the best person who will be the right actually person for when you're reaching out. Sharona is asking, when will you have ISO 9001 2026 trainings? Probably in the second quarter of this year. So I think 9001 is scheduled to be, it's in final draft version now. I think it will be published in either second or third quarter, officially published, but we will probably launch our courses for 9001, the latest revision, in the second quarter 2026. All right, I think these are all the questions, and yeah, let me wrap up the webinar. So, as I mentioned, this webinar today was too short to go into details of all aspects of consulting work, and I mean, for that purpose, you can take a look at these courses for beginners or for advanced consultants, and learn more there. And yeah, regarding this presentation deck, if you want to download it in about 10 minutes, you will actually see the link to download the presentation deck if you join the webinar through YouTube or through LinkedIn. Just leave this page open, and in about 10 minutes you will see in the comment section, you will see that we will publish these links for downloading this presentation deck. And we will also be publishing all the links that we shared today in this webinar. So if you didn't manage to copy all of these links, you will then see them also in this comment section in YouTube and LinkedIn. If you join the webinar through Zoom, then we will send you all of these links through email, and you will see them latest by tomorrow morning. And finally, you also see a link to our short survey. It's very short, only 3 questions, and I would appreciate if you actually answer this short survey, because it will give me a feedback on how I'm doing how I was doing in this webinar. And this would be all. Thank you very much for your participation, and I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.